that thing?
That's just recording the whole cards.
What's that?
It's a GoPro.
It is a GoPro.
Yeah.
Oh.
So we just started. We got around 90k, missed a few hands, but it is what it is. So gotta keep grinding. And I got this guy next to me. We played cash game until 8 a.m. in the morning.
So
That's
fresh.
A fucking legend, man. All in.
Players all in.
Count, please. About 54.
Nice score.
Yeah.
So GG from the day 2 Millionaire Maker. First, pretty tough table. I mean, tough, relatively speaking. But I would say there was just one older guy who seemed to be a recreational, and then there were a lot of good players, younger players. I think the guy to my left, he has the biggest poker YouTube channel, so shout outs to him. Legend, has been grinding cash games until 8 a.m. Leo Margaret's 3 or 4 to my right, and then Strelitz, next mixed game player, I think. Don't know if he's mainly no limit hold'em or mixed game player, but yeah, definitely also seemed to be quite solid. So yeah, not the best table, and that's always very important when it comes to my decisions as well. I mean, compared to online, still a good table, relatively speaking, but compared to here, it's one of the worst tables you can get. Anyway, we haven't been playing a lot of hands, just some smaller pots, and then I open raise Jack 10 off from the high jack. Was it low jack? Doesn't really matter. Small blind calls, the big stack on the table, young Asian looking guy, big blind, Leo calls as well. And we go to the flop, ace, queen, 4. We have the jack in hearts, 10 in spades, ace and queen in spades, and the 4 was like a diamond or whatever, but doesn't matter. There's 18k in the middle, roughly. Both check, I bet 6k, and the small blind calls. And also what was very important is that he, like sometimes people when they ask for a count and look at chips, they just fake it when they have a good hand. I would say that he for sure, it was serious. He looked at my stack, so I was putting him on like a small pair, 7s, 6s, 5s, to see whether it's worth calling a pocket pair. Then something like ace 10 type of hands, ace 10 off, ace jack off, whether to 3-bet or call. Because sometimes, you know, I have a stack size where you might want to start 3-betting those hands, or then actually when it gets shorter, you don't want to 3-bet fold them, you just call them and then you use like maybe weaker offsuited aces to 3-bet fold. So that is, I think, a very important information. And he calls the flop. So now there's around 30k in the middle. Turn is a blank, a 7. And also the flop was ace queen 7 and the turn was a 4. Right, yeah. So there was a 7 on the turn. Sorry, on the flop, and the 4 on the turn. And he checks. And so I was thinking, usually in these spots, you know, you can have a lot of different hands. I still want to value bet thin with my ace-x. I can go big, but I definitely want to bet at least half pot. So I bet half pot, he calls. Now the river is a queen, right? So he then leads, he min bets. He does min bet, he bets 2 big blinds, 5k. So I don't think it's a spot where we want to lead, because I don't have a lot of queen X, because I would check them on the turn, and he's not going to have a lot of queens. The queen X flush draw is not possible. If I don't have jack 10 with any spades in my hand, I'm always jamming, because he can have king jack spades, king 10 spades, like just, you know, block bet, maybe get weaker flush draws to fold, or some random king 10s that barreled off. Like with these small bets, you can just bet a really wide range. So I'm pretty sure he never has a queen X. And also most of the queen X don't really have like a pre-flop decision, like king queen suited, queen jack suited. People would usually flat those. So that's also very important. So he min bets, and I was thinking, all right, jack 10. I definitely don't want to have the jack in spades. I really want him to have, for example, king jack in spades. It's really important for him to have those kind of hands. Yeah, I have the 10 in spades. It's not ideal, but considering like all the information, and also very important, he was able earlier, he showed he folded an overpair on the turn against the race. It was not the most dangerous board, but he folded against the race and he tabled the hand. So I knew, all right, he seems to be solid. I'm gonna have a lot of value jams. I'm gonna be jamming all ace king combos. I'm gonna be jamming all ace queen, all aces, all sevens, of course. So I have a lot more value hands. So that's why I jammed, I ripped it in the jack 10 off for like, he bet 5K and whatever the pot is on the river, and I jammed like 40K, which is like 15 big blinds more. If this, for example, even though the hand would have played exactly the same way, but it would be super good, super soft table, I would have not made this bluff. That is very important to me because my ROI is going to be a lot higher, even though if it's a profitable play, it's just not worth it. Even if I fold, I have like 20, 25 big blinds left. I think 20 big blinds, I think. Or a little bit under 18 big blinds. I'm folding. I keep grinding. But yeah, I still gave myself a good edge on this table. But yeah, as I said, it was not like the softest table. So a lot of good players on this table. Yeah, he 10 called, ace 10 off, which between you and me, maybe he had some reads. I don't know, maybe thought I wouldn't size ace king or something like this, which I would definitely do. So if I have ace king, I jam. If I have ace jack, I jam. So I have lots of hands that I can jam for value, because I also know people like to hero call against me, you know. He ended up calling ace 10 off, which I think is not a good call. You can call ace 2 suited, ace 4. You really want me to have the jack 10 or the king 10, right? The bottom broadways that I'm bluffing with. But yeah, anyway, he called, and it is what it is. Now I will jump into the Salute to the Warriors and gonna try to grind up a stack there. I open raised the button with king jack off. I was a really funny hand. I don't remember the exact stack sizes, so I will recap it in big blinds. So we open raised 2.2 big blinds, small blind 3 bets around like to 7.5 big blinds, big blind folds. And this hand was pretty funny because that was my most intense stare down ever. So I open the button and I look over to the guy. Of course, you want to look for reads, how he reacts, timing tells, whatever. All right, and even especially for me, I want to gather as much experience as possible. But now this decision is on him, and this guy stares me down. And after, I don't know, 20, 30, 45 seconds, I tell him, hey, it's on you. He's like, I know. I find it a bit weird because typically when I make the decision, he can observe me. I made my decision, I'm cool, now it's on to you. But everyone has its own way of playing, it's fine, just wouldn't be my way of playing. And if it's on me, I would make my decision and then I would look for tells. And of course, take your time, think things too, but it was a bit awkward that he was literally staring me down like death, like literally. So he 3 bets, I call. I already know pre-flop which hands I'm going to be calling, which hands I'm going to be 4-betting, so I acted pretty fast. Now, flop comes queen jack 8 or queen jack 7, I'm not really sure. I think it was actually queen jack 7. Doesn't make a huge difference. Of course, there are some 10-9s that are present. So he bets really small. I think he bets, so we have like around 15 big blinds in the middle, and he bets like 4 big blinds, 3 to 5 big blinds. And we have an easy call with king jack off. We don't have any relevant suits. There was no flush draw. Again, before he makes a decision, he stares at me. And all right, I was like, thanks for the invitation. I'm gonna stare back. So I stared back at him. And at some point, the others at the table start wondering what the fuck is going on between the two of them. So he stares at me, and then ultimately he ends up betting, and I instantly call again. There was enough time for me to think it through. I don't need any more time to think it through. And especially when I don't have so much live experience, when I made up my mind, I can make the decision. And for most the part, since I'm one tabling, I know exactly what to do, and I don't want to stretch it for too long, especially when I start playing against better opponents, when I will also play some of the higher buy-ins, maybe the 10k main. I also plan to play the 50k WSOP. I also plan to play the 10k area. I want to make my decisions quick so they don't have too much time to pick up on reads. I don't know if I give away so many timing tells or not, but we will see. Anyway, so he checks, and I thought that typically in this spot that players play too passive with their ace kings. I think it's a great board to second barrel, make me fold like an ace 8 suited, a 7-8 suited, pocket 9s, pocket 10s on a very disgusting spot, and probably have to fold against the big bet. So he bets like, he checks, and I thought that people are too sticky with their ace kings, and I also think that big pairs would usually bet bigger. So unless he's on a super fancy slow play, he's never having ace or kings here or anything strong. I think if he's queens and he wants to slow play, he starts checking. So I felt very comfortable that we have the best hands. And from my experience also online, and you guys know me, I'm doing a lot of research into how the population plays, and that this is the typical line for ace king. So I didn't just want to go for 1/3. In fact, I went for half pot, T calls, and the river. Again, I make my decision, I look at the board, think it through, all right. Here I needed to think a few seconds longer because second pair, second best kicker in a 3-bet pot. But all things considered, I think we have a clear value bet. I think that's where a lot of players would miss a crucial value bet against how most players play and how unbalanced they are because they're too afraid to play their ace kings aggressive. I think it's also not the worst spot to just check jam. I mean, if we have king queen, if we have king jack, we're gonna be in a really disgusting spot. He makes us fold king 10, king 9s that could bluff him off the river. So I think it's not the worst spot if you have ace 10, ace king to just rip it in. He calls, again, before he calls, he keeps staring at me, and now the closer we get to the showdown, he starts staring longer at me. So he was staring for like 30 seconds, a minute even, before he ended up calling. So, and I also felt like that this guy is a bit of an ego player. Like he was playing pretty solid so far, but I felt like the vibes he was giving off and the way he was looking at me, that it was more personal for him than him just making rational decisions. And of course I take advantage of that. And I think one great way of taking advantage of that is acting really fast. So I bet on the river. I bet on the turn, he calls, and the river is the king. Completely irrelevant suits, everything offsuited. And he, again, stares at me for another minute before he ends up. I mean, what's the point of staring at me when you make your decision? Because I don't know what bet size, what are you going to do, right? Because you want to bet and then see my reaction, but I don't know what the fuck you're doing, so why staring at me? I think it's bit pointless, but yeah, just my opinion. So he checks, he checks, and I rip in the rest. I think he had like 20 big blinds, 25 big blinds left. And I instantly, like he checks, I take my stack and put it in the middle and look at him again. And he looks at me for like 10 seconds and then snap calls ace king, which I think is a pretty bad call. Now everything gets there. I mean, what bluffs can we really have? Like, I think this is just the ultimate, oh, I made my top pair, have to call. But when you think it through, I'm not value jamming king 9 anymore because it's so obvious that ace king gets there. I think, in fact, he should donk jam. I think donk jamming is better than check calling because king 10, I'm checking back. King 9, I'm checking back. Ace jack, I'm checking back. And maybe for whatever reason, I think he could turn his 9s or 10s into a bluff, right? Wouldn't be that such a terrible play, to be honest. So yeah, I think if you end up having aces, which should play differently, I think I never have a bluff here. What hands? It's so, I need to have the random pocket deuces or pocket 3s or random ace 5 suited. So I think I really need to find all these unnatural bluffs and then also execute them. But just my impression of this guy, I don't want to be pushed around. I'm going to play my ace king here. I'm not going to fold. I don't think I would ever bluff in this spot. And funny enough, that girl across the table, I'm not sure if it's on the footage. She made a really hilarious joke asking me if we don't want to take us a room and go upstairs because we were staring so intensely at each other. Yeah, pretty fun hand. We scooped a pretty decent pot. In general, I had a really good table. So I was hoping to hit a few more big hands. I was in the small blind, like 30 to 40 bigs. And the gun opens and we're like, yeah, 50% through the field, maybe 40%. And of course, we want to use ICM adjusted ranges. So let's have a look. UTG, we're small blind facing an open. It's not a pure call. So it's like 70-80% call. So it's fine to fold. Because I thought that he also looks like the strongest opponent. So like you can see that King H2 is a fold here. Oh, yeah, like 20% to fold. Sounds reasonable to fold. Because I have like so many weak spots on my table that I thought I don't need to get into like a super nasty spot out of position. If it's a tougher table, I might call. If the opponent is recreational, wherever he reads, then I call. But yeah, I think it's reasonable to skip. Good to know.
16. Way too lắm.
Just being patient, grinding the 20 big blind stack. We're not really getting good hands, so we're just waiting. That's what tournament poker is about, and yeah, would also enjoy playing a bigger stack, but that's how it is sometimes. So all you can do is to just wait for the spots to occur. Of course, I would sometimes also be a bit more aggressive. 3-bet, not only 3-bet with offsuited ace-x and king x hands against late positions. But yeah, I'm just waking up with very bad hands, so all I can do is to wait.
Is it
5-10?
5-10?
5-10, yeah. The guy who bust out to hold in his big like that, left and oh yeah, you know what? I remember that. I was on. Good luck.
All in. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like I see 80 there. Call 87. All in. You see all three hands.
Oh, right.
Three all in.
I wasn't. Just woke up with something.
Okay, I need a miracle.
I'm fine with my candles.
I need a big miracle. Alright, so we can go to clubs. No, nothing. Alright, GG.
Yes.
Holy shit. That's it.